Shaggy. I am Philalitheia. I managed not to cough today, but I still swiped my damn thumb right in front of that lens. There it is. It's 9:23. I have been awake for about an hour, just chilling, listening to the sound of the forest, waking all the way up. Hurting, hurting pretty bad, and yeah, getting a little baked. So I've decided I have two things that I need to say. I've decided that I have done enough, that there is enough material on my channel, and that 82 people is 60% more than the 50 that I needed to do these. And so I have a big enough audience, and I have done enough work that you have enough material to know who I am and how I do this well enough that I can do this. I'm just going to do this. And we'll see. We'll see how long these videos are. Because it says I can pause, but that pause doesn't really do anything, so. And we'll see how many I do. I have 31% battery, which doesn't give me that long. Why is YouTube giving me a... They give me my weekly analytics updates at such weird hours, such random times. Sometimes it's Sunday night running into Monday morning. Sometimes it's Monday night running into Tuesday. Today it was Tuesday morning. So I've given you, yeah, see, I've given you enough opportunities to get to know me. I have enough short work showing you what these lives, how these lives build out by cutting out the spaces where I need to breathe or where I've forgotten a word or whatever. That I'm going live. I'm doing it this way. This is an addendum or a part two of the first thing that I want to tell you. Because I have been spending the last several weeks doom scrolling shorts like you would, not even enjoying myself, utterly hating it, doom scrolling. Starting on a short or by a channel that I know I like, and then just scrolling until I just can't fucking take it anymore. And you come across a bunch of lives when you do that, and what I see is that other people are making really fucking good money going live. And so there's no reason that I shouldn't have an audience that supports me like their audiences support them. Because not all of them are selling sex. A lot of them are. And you should be proud as a countryman and a fellow human that there's somebody standing up and trying to be an intellect and not waving his cock around. That should be enough. It really should. It fills me with fury, rage, which is called righteous indignation, which is a religious feeling. It's a feeling of zeal. It's not an emotion. I can barely see. My eyes keep fogging over. Because that's what zeal is. When the word comes over you, it's someone else's mind. And for me, it's the mind of truth, of Aletheia. And the truth is, you know what you watch. And you know why you follow me. And you know why you don't pay. Because you know what your money is tangled up in. But it's wild to me. It's wild to me that nobody is just grateful that I do this. The people that I meet in this city are grateful to me for what I do. And how I talk to them. What I talk about. I give you more of me than I give them. It's very strange to me. But I see the audiences they generate. I also know how many people are alive in the world. And so if your friends aren't on YouTube, but they like the kind of things that you do and you like my work, how fucking hard is it to go, hey, watch this with me? Or hey, watch this, I like it. Or hey, let's live stream this together. Or let's put this on together while we do our Zoom call or whatever the fuck you people do. However the fuck you socialize. How hard is it to do that? Did all of you grow up as only children? It seems impossible. But none of you had sleepovers? Is that just gone? None of you. That's the thing is my audience is Gen X. You guys know how to tape share. You guys are the only reason that Facebook is even alive. So there's a betrayal happening. And then the second thing, I'm going to forget what it was. That's why the gods thought that strong emotions came. What did I say? The Greeks. That's why the ancient Greeks thought that the strong emotions, the very strong emotions, were themselves gods. But they also thought that life changing decisions like betrayal, like cowardice, were also gods. This is why the ancient pantheons, and I hate that word because a pantheon is one temple, it's a style of temple, but it's a specific temple to all of the theon, which is a different word in translation from God. Theon, theoi, theo should absolutely not be translated to English from the Greek. That word should have been adopted because it's a different class of supernatural being. It's closer to deity. Like Zeus's name is properly Theus or Deus. I knew I was going to forget that second one because the second one was what I was lying there thinking about and I knew I needed to talk about today. And so anyway, I gotta start getting ready, right? And so that's what these are about. These are about me getting ready and working through my day, and it's still early. I'm gonna end up at Christ's table before I want to, but I don't need to go anywhere else, and that's what it was. I need to make some money today. And I'm not here to browbeat you about it. I'm here to just talk about it. That the micro gigging economies work, but they're extremely predatory if you can actually pay out at them. And that only makes sense because they act like they have infinite amounts of money. Like there's one, I'm not going to say its name because it might be scummy. There's one, there are several of them that are just straight up scams. And I don't really understand the point of the scam unless it's just to get your phone number or your email. But what they're going to do with that for somebody who's, but that's the other thing. And I know I'm ellipsating and I'm double dashing a lot, and that's fine. I don't care because I'm going to double back on all of this stuff. You've had enough time to see that I double back and I catch my thoughts. But what I'm learning is that these micro gigging economies aren't for the poor; they're for the upper middle class. They're actually for the struggling. They're for the pretentious upper middle class. They're for the people in the middle class, maybe even the lower middle class, who want people above the upper. They want people in the 1% to think that that they can sustain a lifestyle with the upper middle class, and so the ads are really aggressively. Hmm, I'm trying to choose my word very carefully. I find them scummy. But they're aggressively classist. Like, oh, there's a okay, so there's a they in the 90s they used to call it shopaholic. They used to call it I hate it. Shopaholism. Well, what the fuck is shopahol? Like I know what alcohol, however that word is pronounced, spelled. I know what that is. And I know that you're an alcoholic because you drink alcohol, but I don't know what the fuck shopahol is or chocohol. I've never heard of chocohol to be a I've never heard of uh yeah, chocohol to be a chocoholic, right? That was a part of the 90s that always deeply got under my skin. And so we didn't take it seriously as a disorder, as an addiction, as something that needs to be treated and taught out, especially of women, especially of young women, especially of poor women. The serotonin bump of spending money, and a lot of it, and sustaining those spendings over many days. And so I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about it from a different perspective than you would. This might work. Now, it's not going to be the best view of me or of my tent, but that might work. And so you and I see other people go live with shit in front of the lens. Way lower budget, way lower effort than what I do. And because they're not white, I'm not joking. And I'm not being the racist one here. Because they're not white, you hold them to a significantly lower standard. Significantly. And it's about this. It's hard to talk to you about spending addiction. It's very difficult to talk to you directly about spending addiction without kind of having to have the conversation with you like, are you spending money on me because you have an addiction to micro spending and I'm an outlet. And that does put me in a position to have to look at you and go like, am I what's that word where you help somebody get their drug? Am I helping you like hurt yourself? And so we have to have that conversation. That's why I always tell people no. The first time people hand me money, I say, oh, no, I don't need it. I don't need it from you. I need you to tell your friends I need it. And they all go, well, let me be a good person. And so on some level, we've deliberately retained. We have deliberately retained, but here's the thing. You do it unknowingly, which is called custom, not tradition. That's custom. And custom is the Pavlov's bell. It's the Pavlovian response of culture. Every civilization, every culture in history has looked back on its customs and gone, wait a minute, why the fuck are we doing this? At some point in their history, at some point in their existence. And I am of the opinion that we are far enough away from all of these customs and many of our traditions to look back on them and go, wait, why the fuck did we ever do it that way? That specific way. What does it mean? Why are we doing this? Now, I believe that we are now in the exact moment to begin doing that. I'm of that opinion. Because AI is going to take away your ability to do it for yourself. AI is going to remove that possibility from you. because you have shit for brains. And once AI starts thinking in public for you, you're fucked. You're just going to let mommy and daddy AI do everything for you, and you're going to regress. You're going to regress to a 2-year-old child, and you're going to be useless to yourself and everyone around you, and what's the point in keeping you alive? What's the point in keeping any of us alive at that point? I cannot have been the only person. I cannot be the only person to have watched The Matrix. None of you has thought about why the robots wouldn't eat us. All of you are on a computer. If the computer can Google itself, what is the point in you? How has none of you read an article, listened to a speaker, heard the State of the Union address for the last 30 years about manufacturing in the state of engineering in this country, specifically manufacturing in this country, the United States? I am in a barren shithole of a state abandoned by manufacturing. Look at Detroit. The only thing Detroit has is sports teams and gentrification for try-hard, bleeding heart millennial billionaires. I choked on my vomit for even thinking that it's possible that such a thing could exist. All of these reactions are real and not mine. I'm not doing it on purpose. None of this is for the camera. And I'm not looking right here. I'm not affecting anything for the camera, because I forget that I'm even looking at a camera. I'm looking at a guy who's clearly homeless, clearly mentally unwell, and hugely intelligent. And I'm studying him like you should be studying me. Like I study all of you. This is an opportunity to see me live. For me. Wow, look at that guy. I don't get a lot of the admiration that I deserve, that I've earned. And see, you think that admiration is something that you deserve because your parents just gave it to you unconditionally because your parents love you. And so on some level, you have a praise kink, boyo, sister. You got a praise kink. And it's not your boss, it's not your priest, it's nobody but your lover. It's nobody's responsibility but your lover to praise you. Nobody's. Look outside your culture. You are all so terrified of China. Well, what does China actually do that's superior to you? They raise functional adults. Cognitive adults. And you call their submission, you call their willingness to follow the rules, you call their acclamation, you call their willingness to reaccustom themselves to the way of life of the place to which they immigrant. You call that childish and you call it stupid because you are ignorant and arrogant in your ignorance. You have no idea what humility even is. Someone told me that I need to humble myself. I am sitting cross-legged right now in a dirty tent filled with mildew, waiting on the day to warm up. In large part, I'm still here because I don't feel like being cramped into my jacket and in here, because it's decently warm enough that I don't need that discomfort today. But when I put my shoes on, I'm definitely going to knock my phone up out of that net. And my big brown eyes are just so goddamn beautiful. I was talking to someone that I love and respect. We were talking about not body shaming people, but people who obsess over their body shame, and who make their body shame and their body discomfort and their refusal to accept that this is the body you're in, this is what it looks like, these are the things that you got it good at as a child, and this is what it looks like as a result. This is what you do habitually with your day, and this is what it looks like as a result. People that just refuse to accept that on both ends of the spectrum, because going to the gym is a psychopathology. It's mental unwellness. Just, if you have to go to a gym to look a certain way or to not look a certain way, you're just a disordered person. Your executive function is just busted. And so you're orienting your executive function around making sure you do that one most important thing. But that one most important thing becomes its own addiction. I mean, it's not sick to be addicted, but it is a sickness which drives you to that particular addiction. Because medicine is medicine and medicine is addictive. Because the healing process is addictive. Because that's what bodybuilding is. That's what working out is on some level. It's breaking down the body and then forcing it to rapidly repair to only break it down again. Do we know nothing? Or do we just not think literally? We don't think, we just insist that we're smart enough to think abstractly no matter whether we are or we are not? Or do we just not think at all? Like, if nobody says it out loud, do we just not think it? And because I say it out loud and I've clearly thought about it before, do I put you on edge? I don't care if I shine a mirror on you, because again, I'm always now trying to find bridges to talk about Christine de Pizan and the book of the City of Ladies, because it's phenomenal. It's just absolutely phenomenal. It's so similar to my work. That's what I like. Now, if I go, wow, this is really good, it's because it's similar to what I like. Not similar to what I like, it's similar to what I'm already doing. And so she doesn't use a lot of images. She doesn't use a lot of imagistic material in her visionary experience. Hear that again. This visionary mystic does not use, in the literary account of her visionary religious experience, very much visual imagery at all. There is very little imagistic material in this book, because this book is a work of philosophy. It's a dialogue between Christine de Pizan and three angels of the goddess. Did you hear me wrong? Because I didn't say of the god, of the goddess. Sophia visited her as three icons, three images, three goddesses, in exactly the same way that the Yod-Ba'ath visited Abraham as three cloaked angels. And their names are something, I know the one there, but there's something like rectitude. I didn't pay attention to the third one because I was disappointed in the name of the second one being rectitude. I was like, I don't know what that word means, and I'm not going to look it up. So here we are today. I still haven't, and I have no plan to, because that's a word that I'm going to use, and no one's going to know either. So there's no real reason to learn that word unless I'm reading a lot of medieval, well, theology, and they happen to use that word a lot. Then I would do it, but till then I have no reason. Um, It might just be truth. It might be rectitude, truth, and I know the first one is reason. And the first one is the one whose images really stand out in my mind, and that I want to talk to you about right now. Because if my being reasonable shines a mirror on you and makes you look bad in comparison, especially because of my class, my poverty, my birth, my race, and my home, that means that I am accurately reflecting the goddess of reason, because the goddess of reason approaches our Christine de Pizan holding a hand mirror, and it's facing Christine de Pizan. So it should. It should. See, I don't like to listen to a speaker who moralizes at me about how I'm already doing enough. Because I'm not. That's what I wanted to talk about. I need to talk my finances. And if I talk my finances where the general public can hear, they are going to say something that's going to make me chase the general public yet further away. I need to make weed money this month. And all of my previous and established donors are playing the tiptoe around the fact that they've donated before game. And that's fine. That's how my work works. That's why every time you click into Wikipedia, they ask you for money. Okay, you got a buck? Yeah, I got a buck, Wikipedia. Let's see. As I was falling asleep last night, and finally got it stoned enough to relax after reading an interview and a retrospective of Scott Weiland, lead singer of Stone Temple Pilots, in which he talked about his addiction and his need for heroin. I don't know why I opened this Twix. I forgot that you're not a real person. I forgot that you're not actually present here with me. I have a pretty vivid imagination. And so I'm able to well, I've told you this before. I acted in high school, and I always thought I was going to be a performer. But I didn't know I have, but I have severe social anxiety and performance anxiety. Severe performance anxiety. Like, auditions just would never be able to happen for me. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to play bass. but that was forbidden for me. So you pivot to an instrument that you don't have to spend money on, except in food and drink. And then you learn that singers, it's even less about their voice, because you can barely fucking hear them, and the microphones until the last decade just weren't good enough. Is my head? Yeah, I'm like way up in your face, but this isn't a visual experience. Not really. So anyway, auditions just weren't gonna happen. The social anxiety is too severe, and I determined that if I was going to survive my 30s, or if I was going to survive to 30, I determined at 17 that if I was going to make it to 30, I had no intention of doing so. But if I was going to make it to 30, I had to be sober. Which meant I had to, for the most part, stay away from alcohol too, even though it would be available to me. And so I didn't stay away from it, but I never got a taste for it. Like, I never got a thirst for it. But I did that by liking expensive shit, so I could never have so much of it that I could be hammered ass drunk for multiple days in a row. And my only drinking friends were my girlfriends. So Scott Weiland talks about that. About how the girl that he ended up got pregnant. Girl he ended up had a kid with and tried to have a relationship with the kid there at the end before he died. Before he took himself, frankly. That's how he went. That they were junkies together. And so it's a pattern that I had recognized too. And it's a pattern you should recognize. It's a pattern that Christine de Pizan recognized in the 1300s. But it's interesting. I don't do opiates. I don't even do pharmaceuticals. Like I don't even do Tylenol. I don't do painkillers. Now, the weed is a pain suppressant for sure. But that's the only that nicotine. I've even tried to cut as much caffeine out of my diet as possible because it fucks up my sleep, fucks up my dreams. And on some level, I've been wanting to talk about that. I've been wanting to talk about how much I admire Simon and the effort he goes to and the work he does through their podcast, the Neebs Cast. But I want to do it in a way that he'll see it and he'll know. And I want it to be a tribute to him. And I want it to be in a long form because I idolize all of those men. I recommend you idolize living people too. And I recommend you try to be like them and that you recognize moments in your life where, well, what would they do in this spot? how would, and then you have that dialogue, that imaginary dialogue between yourself and these people, and you use them for counsel when you're alone or when you don't have them. See, this is the mistake that women make historically, is they rely on their husbands, and then their husbands die because we die first. And I don't know why you don't know that. But women for whatever reason aren't pathologically prepared. They just aren't. Look, there's no feminist argument to be made in text because even Christine de Pizan, even Reason, and Reason is brutally honest in the book of the City of Ladies about the behavior of men and women. And they're arguing about whether the things that men say about women are true or not, and it's awesome. Not even arguing. Christine is asking, and she's presenting the truth. Reasoned arguments and counter arguments, both sides. And even Christine de Pizan and Lady Reason agree that women just are not pathologically prepared. That is a male trait. But it's a male trait that we know where it comes from now. Women thought men had it naturally. And so feminists have really fucked up ideas about what men are like because feminists are lesbians, just as personalities. They're on the Kinsey scale, they're like 7 or 8, mostly gay. Hypergamy is very gay. But women are naturally very gay. They used to bathe one another, and they used to spend most of their sexual comfort time, their sexual downtime with women, not with men, because men will get you pregnant or mistreat you, and you won't get off. Like there's that adage that men are looking for a woman who'll clean his shoes and cook his dinners, and women are looking for a man who'll actually get them off. And so, I mean, look, divorcees tend to cling to women. They tend to, whatever. Women who've been through a bad breakup, they tend to be mostly gay. And so feminists are all women who've been through bad breakups and read some romantic literature and thought that life was supposed to be like a romance novel because they're hypergamists. And they were taught about marriage through romance novels. The liberal as such, but feminists specifically, are all Don Quixotes tilting at windmills. But because we don't read that novel, and because we don't do exegesis properly, and because we don't put novels and storytelling in a straight line and show influence, because what people want to do is go, well, we can't know if he was influenced by that or not. And it's like, well, fuck you. Fight Club was definitely influenced by Don Quixote. Don Quixote's two people. He starts out as one guy, he goes insane, he changes his name to Don Quixote, and he goes a questing like a knight errant from the 1300s and the 1600s. What's Fight Club do? Guy goes crazy at the beginning of the book, changes his name to Tyler Durden, and starts a Buddhist monk temple. A Buddhist warrior monk cult, is what I meant to say. Fight Club is doing yoga in the truest sense of punishing the body. For religious and spiritual enlightenment. So there's an influence there, and we can show that influence out. So anyway, I'm so far off what I want to be talking about, and that's fine, because what I want to talk about is that I'm hungry. But that's okay, actually. That means that I got enough to eat when I went to bed last night. Um, that's a good thing to have. That's a good problem to have. Um, um, and I slept the whole night through. It's what's 10 o'clock? Yeah, and in an hour, I'm getting up to go to the bus, and in an hour here, um, I'll be at Christ's table eating anyway. So some problems I already have solved, and so if you were reading the journals, you would know about you would know, or well, no, actually, I recorded my early stages where I was really struggling with hunger, really suffering, and really struggling for community. That's available to you if you want to see, that triumph. Because in the early days, when I had a little audience, I had a little audience approaching 15 people, and they all knew about, on some level, no, I am a secretive and mysterious person who was living in severe emotional and environmental and domestic, is what that's called, abuse. Severe. And so because of that, I'm a secretive person, which means that I had already set up concentric circles of people who got to know me. And that negatively impacted people. People didn't love that, to learn just how secretive I was. And that's fine. But many of them, some of whom were even paying me $25, which was the max I was willing to charge from my Patreon at the time, some of them who were paying me $25, um, when they knew that I was going to be evicted and that I was going to be homeless, they kept insisting, like, you got to go live and you got to record. You got to record your what you're going through so people can watch it and they can see your wins and they can see your struggles and they can find inspiration in you. And then they tried to steal all of my artistic idiosyncrasies and my personality and my catchphrases and my personal idiom. They withheld their money, and I'm now blocked by all of them on social media. So, good riddance. But the point is, it's all there. The other point is that I need a bigger income. I don't need a huge income, but I really thought I was really anticipating, really expecting is the right word, to be making more than $100 a month by now. Doing this, not micro gigging and the predatory micro gigging economy. But here we are. And I have just no intention whatsoever of getting and staying sober. I was sober for much of yesterday. The thing is, like, something that you can't understand is maybe functional addiction. Like, it used to be a thing where the person who got drunk every night but was able to bounce back in the morning because he wasn't out doing things he wasn't supposed to be doing. He just had a whole bottle of Jack every night before bed. Was at least a socially normative person who could keep it to himself. He could keep his problem. In fact, it wasn't even seen as a problem. It wasn't even seen as a problem until the last 5 years. It's only been recognized. It's only been diagnosed or treated like a problem in the last 5 to 10 years, because it turns out that there are too many addiction treatment centers, because there are too many people who got addiction treatment center educations and job training, because in the 90s, the liberal competition with Christianity really thought that drugs was the battlefield that civilization was going to be fought on. Because for decades, by the 90s, it was the liberals who were in a position to govern the artists and the racial minorities and the poor whites. And until the last, well, honestly, until about 2008, drinking at all was considered either a rich liberal behavior or a hobo behavior. I mean, an extreme poverty behavior. Alcohol in the United States, because of prohibition, and what you got to understand is that just because, like, federally, I know you can barely hear me, but just because federally prohibition went away doesn't mean that the entire country was suddenly wet, because most of the country agreed that bars and taverns were places that hookers and criminals frequented, and that alcohol increases the rate of participation in both things: prostitution for women and criminal behavior for men. And so most of the country, until about 2008, and the microbrewery boom coming out of the Northwest, which was never dry, in the sense that places like Westerville, North Carolina, Westerville, Ohio, where Prohibition began, which is now a huge microbrewery economy, and the mountains of North Carolina were totally dry. No bars. Hard as shit to buy alcohol. I gotta put you down. It was inconvenient, in other words, in much of the country to be an Irish Catholic. And that was on purpose. Because Catholics, in particular Italian Catholics, came to this country with alcoholism, and with alcoholism built massive criminal empires. All that mafia shit that you idolize because there have been some decent movies about it, yeah, that shit happened. Still happens. White slavery still happens. The Russian mafia is very real, very dangerous, and I shouldn't have brought them up. They're very active in Ohio. Very active through the hotels of Ohio. Most certainly the hotels of Southern Zanesville. So, I should have just kept my mouth shut. My insides hurt. Because, although it seems like I might be a little stoned, and I did open this by saying I got a little baked, I did. I got a little head spinny. Not head spinny, but head foggy, feeling good. I can feel what it feels like to actually smoke this for real, and not just until my knee stops fucking throbbing. But I'm gonna run out. And when I run out, that's gonna be a fucking nightmare for me. In large part because of the nightmares. The nightmares are gonna start up again. I know that because while I was sick, I was sober. Because I don't get stoned enough even to when I smoke a little bit more maybe than what I need to in order to fall asleep. I don't get stoned enough that when I wake up 8 hours later, like today I woke up 8 hours later and I'm sober. I'm so sober, I hurt, I actually ache on the inside of my body. Well, after about 10 hours, I start to feel like my internal organs are pruned, like dry and twisting, which they are all twisted up. I'm hurting. I'm gonna need to visit a bathroom or something. I'm gonna have to cut this short when I get to the bus stop. God damn, I sound like fucking Jordan Peterson. I really am just trying to walk it off. Literally just trying to walk it off. My knee hurts so bad. It doesn't want to bend. And so it's just every step you gotta, okay, come on, loosen. I went through this yesterday, and that's part of why I said, like, I think I've shown you enough of me at this point for you to, oh, you know what I went and did? I left my hand warmer. Oh, that's a bummer. That just means I got to go back to the tent before I go to Panera. It'll be fine. I hope it'll be fine. So I haven't really talked about anything today, have I? If I end up going 2 hours, I would have circled back around through all of it. This is an hour. I'm at the halfway point. I am still talking about the second thing I wanted to talk about. I've introduced a lot of topics that I've been thinking about, that I should say, hey, if I should remind you that if I leave a thread, then I don't pick it back up, or I'm obviously thinking about something and I can't talk about it, and you want to know more, hit me up in them comments. You hit me up in them comments and I can at least know what to freeform around, because I can't do prepared material. I'm not going to sit down and write and script and read and perfect and make it look nice and edit and all of that for free. Why am I not going to do that? Why do I hold myself above all these people who do that? Because they can't make the transition to making money. everybody thinks, and the reason so many of those people, of those 15, so many of them bailed on me, is because they had no idea, no idea the requirements for monetization. And once they realized what it requires to actually monetize from YouTube, they were like, "Oh, we're out." Once they realize what it requires to actually monetize on Twitter and how little you actually get for monetization, as a normal person, it has to be different. I can't I can't I can't sustain that emotionally, and it's just not worth it because there's no amount of monetization that's going to happen. Um, there's no amount of audience. I did it, and okay, so I think that's ultimately what I wanted to talk about. Is I'm actually not dragging her. So if she sees this, a chick got in my comments and she told me that, she watched the video that she was commenting on, and now she's going to go to my other work to get to know me better, and that I need to just let it take time. And it's like, yeah, okay, well, lady, that video you're commenting on is at least a month old, and I've been doing this channel for over a year now, and moving backward is what it feels like I'm doing. I don't even feel like I'm on a treadmill. I don't even feel like I'm going nowhere. I feel like every step forward is a step backward. Like I'm losing ground. Not like I'm making up for it. And so that's what every hit of weed feels like when I don't have two. So I've got my nicotine under control. I've got my nicotine not under control. I've got the expense down to a routine. And I've got the expense of the weed down to a routine too. It's just, here we go. I got to spend another day. I'm not looking forward to today. I'm not going to really, it's not going to look like I'm making any money. And that's the thing with these microeconomy apps, is you can make pennies at a time, tens of pennies at a time, tens of cents, 30, 40 cents here, pretty easy. But then like getting the big rewards takes multiple days of multiple hours of grinding. And so it's very tedious, it's very boring, and it's a lot of ads. You end up watching a lot of ads, and the ads are just all so predatory. That was the word I was looking for earlier this morning. I told you they come to me. It's not that they're scummy. I mean, they are. I find it scummy, but I can't define scummy. It just like, ew, I don't want to touch that. Icky, don't get it on me. But they're so predatory. They're so cagey in their language, and they lie. They lie like dogs. That's what today's got to be about. That's what this whole week's got to be about. I have $10. It cost me 37 and change for the device I'm using now. I don't like it. It's not my favorite. I would prefer the one that's going to cost me $60. It's like 55 in tax, I think, is what it cost. And here's the bus. So that's my day. Take care of yourself. Yeah. Pray that I didn't just burn my tent down. Do that for me, all right?